Today's webinar session. My name is Daniel and I'm the Director Technical Support and Customer Services here at imtmedical. In today's webinar session, I will tell you all about CITREX profiles. Today's webinar is directed by my colleague Janessa from the marketing team. So before we start, I want to show you quickly the most important functions of our GoToWebinar platform. You should now see this control panel, which you see on my slide here. And we have different sections here. At the bottom, we have a chat section. So at the end of the webinar, we will then have a discussion and question round. But also at any time, if you have a question, you can just post your question here in the chat section so that I can see it here on my screen and answer your question at the end of the webinar session in our discussion and question round, or later after the webinar if this should not be possible to answer during our live session. Then we have a button called Raise Hands. So later when we have our discussion, you can also participate live on our webinar here by raising your hand. We can then see that you want to talk to us, and we can activate your microphone so that everyone, we here in the studio and the crowd out there, can hear you, and we can discuss your question together. Then we have a button here called Full Screen. So if you want to have more space for the content I'm showing you, you can use this Full Screen button, and also you can, with this button up there, you can hide this panel so that you have even more space for the camera and the presentation I'm showing you. Okay, so let's start. So the aims of today's webinar session are that you learn what a CITREX profile is. Then you will learn why and when it makes sense to use CITREX profiles. And finally, you will learn how to create and use CITREX H4 and CITREX H5 profiles. So what is a CITREX profile? A profile is a set of settings and configurations which we can save and load later on if we want to use the same settings and configurations again. So in a CITREX profile, we have, for example, all the measurement settings of CITREX, for instance, gas standard, trigger settings, humidity settings, and all these kind of measurement settings. We also have all the setup information about our screens, for instance, the graphics which you have, the curves which you have configured, or the numeric values we have configured on our different CITREX screens. Then also all the configurations about the different interfaces, such as the RS-232 interface or analog out input interface, are saved in our profiles. And last but not least, also some device settings, such as screen brightness. So why shall we use profiles? Well, there are different obvious advantages of using profiles. The first one is safety. This is really important. So by using profiles, we can eliminate the risk of wrong settings, because we just load a profile which we have once created and make sure that all the settings are correct for our corresponding measurement task. The second one is speed. So I think you all know sometimes it takes quite a lot of time to set up your device, make all the settings for your next measurement task. And by using profiles, this is just lightning fast. Within seconds, you will be ready for your next measurement task. Third point is versatility. So because all the settings, each and every CITREX setting can be saved in a profile, it is very versatile to use it. Actually, you can create profiles for any measurement tasks you may have in the field. Then the next one is flexibility. So at all the time we can use profiles, we can fine-tune them, and we can also save them as new profiles, for instance, or we can update our profiles if we see that we have to change or fine-tune something. And the last point, also very important, is standardization. So profiles can be used as a quality management tool in order to ensure that all the biomedical engineers or all the service engineers throughout the whole organization are using the same settings and same standards. This helps to reduce the risk of wrong settings. Finally, they can also end up in wrong measurement or wrong calibration, for example, of ventilators. So this is also a very nice tool or feature for quality measurement, quality management. So when to use profiles? Actually, it makes sense to use profiles for any recurrent measurement tasks. For example, this could be if you have to calibrate different equipment. It could also be that you need different trigger settings only, for instance, for various ventilation patterns. So you can then have different CITREX profiles to cope with these different situations. Then sometimes it also happens that you have different units you need for your measurement task. For instance, some ventilators are showing pressure in millibar, others are showing pressure in centimeters of water. So maybe you will have two CITREX profiles on your instruments with one unit, one with one unit and one with the second unit. So it makes it very easy for you to change and very quick. Then another example is that you have different measurement screens you want to have. For example, you want to see different curves or different monitoring parameters, numeric parameters on your screen, and you can have different profiles on your CITREX with different appearances of your measurement screens. Let's have a closer look at some typical use case examples. So here on my slide, the first typical use case example is a service provider, or it could also be a ventilator manufacturer who has field engineers in different areas of the world. In such a case, maybe there is a head of technical support who is responsible for calibration of his devices or devices of this organization in the field. And this technical support director can then create profiles for the CITREX devices of the field engineers. He can do this based on information of the service manual, which he can find in the service manual of the equipment to be calibrated in the field. Once he has created these profiles, he can deploy them to all his field engineers, making sure that they are all using the same profiles for their measurement tasks. So this ensures reproducible calibration process and also helps minimizing training costs, because all the engineers in the field can just load and use the same profiles. A second typical use case is a hospital which runs various equipment serviced by the same biomedical engineers. So for these biomedical engineers, it makes sense to create profiles for their CITREX for all the ventilators or equipment they have to calibrate and test frequently. Because it's then very easy for them whenever they come to such kind of a ventilator or other equipments to be tested or calibrated, they can just load the corresponding profile and start measuring immediately. So also here, the information about the profiles are based on the information of the service manuals of these various equipment in this hospital. So you can imagine this helps the service engineers to work more efficiently because they will be faster and it makes it safer to use. And at the end, it also improves quality, and it also improves quality of the service provided. So based on this use case example number 2, I want to show you now on my CITREX H5 here how you can create and load profiles. So I have a fictional use case scenario here. So let's assume that I am a biomedical engineer in a hospital and 2 of my recurrent tasks are to test ventilator A and to test ventilator B. So what I'll do is I'll create profiles for this ventilator A and ventilator B on my CITREX based on information which I can find in the service manual, because in the service manual I have all the information about what to test and how to test and which settings I have to use. So let's suppose I have the following information. My ventilator A uses gas standard AP21, while my ventilator B uses gas standard STPH. Then the values, the numeric values to be checked in ventilator A are P-peak, PEEP, rate, and FiO2. This is just a test procedure according to the service manual. And let's suppose my ventilator B, I need to check IPAP, PEEP, TI, and VTI. Then my ventilator A is displaying pressure in millibar, and my ventilator B is displaying pressure in centimeters of water. And finally, also my measurement setup is different. So there are different trigger settings which fit for these two different applications. So you can already imagine now, if I go from a ventilator B with a setup of ventilator B to a ventilator A and back, I have to change different settings on my CITREX device, which makes it easier than if I use my profile features. So let's have a look at my CITREX here. I have already configured my CITREX now for ventilator A. So everything is set up for ventilator A. If we have a closer look at my CITREX H5 screen here, if you take a look at the presentation, ventilator A uses gas standard AP21. So I have set up gas standard AP21 already here, gas standard. Then I have configured measurement screen here, my main measurement screen with a flow curve here, which I want to see, and also with my 4 main measurement values I need to check, which is P-peak, PEEP, rate, and O2. And also, for instance, here with CITREX H5, that's a very nice feature. I have also colored my values so that, for example, the pressures are red, so that this makes it easier for me to see immediately what I want to see. And also, last but not least, you can see here my pressure values are both displayed in millibar, because I know my ventilator A is also using millibar as unit for the pressure. And finally, also my trigger settings, I know them, I have already set them up correctly here in the trigger details to fit here this measurement application. Here on my ventilator A, the trigger settings are based on my flow signal with a +3 liter rising edge start trigger and a -3 liter falling edge flow trigger for the stop condition. So now I have already set up everything for my CITREX H5 for ventilator A. So now what I'll do next, I will now save these settings of my CITREX H5 as a profile, so that I can load them later on if I am testing a ventilator A next time. So how can I do that? I'll go to my main menu here of my CITREX H5, go to the section Profiles, and select New Profile. Now I can give it a name here. If I click on New Profile 1, I can just delete here New Profile and say Vent A. Done. I could also add a description here by typing, for instance, this is the profile to test ventilator A or whatever. I can also leave it blank. And if I hit the tick button here, I have saved this now as Vent A profile. So we can see it here in the profile section now, vent A, which I can just select and apply, confirm with OK the next time when I'm testing a ventilator A. So what I'll do now, I will now change my setup here and connect ventilator B to my CITREX. Just a second. So this is a different ventilator, different setup. Need a test lung with a leak here. So now I have ventilator B connected to my CITREX H5 here. And let's have a look at my presentation slide. So you see for ventilator B, I need different settings. So the first thing I have to change, because now everything is set up for ventilator A, the first thing I have to change is my gas standard. So I'll go to settings, measurement, gas standard, and set it to STPH. Okay, so that was the first thing. Then I have different measurement values which I have to check. So I will go to my measurement screen here, and let's say I want to change here the flow curve, and I want to see here for my ventilator B, I want to see the pressure here as curve. As my ventilator B is using centimeters of water to display the pressure, I will also select it here on my CITREX H5. Okay. Then I'll change my values down here, because here on my ventilator B, I need a IPAP value here. Then here at this position, I want to see PEEP as well, but I want to see it in centimeters of water. Also the same for my IPAP. Here I can change the unit as I want to have it here. Then the third one here, I don't want to see rate here. Let's say I want to see TI at this position here. You can just scroll here and select inspiratory time. And here at this position, I want to see VTI, because I have to check this value in my test instruction. So let's select that one here. Let's say I will have it here, volume I want to have in yellow color. So apply. And finally, I have configured my screen here. Then the setup is different. I need different trigger settings here which match. Let's say I know them. So I'll just go to my settings screen here, trigger details, and start condition here. I know that it works best with the pressure signal on rising edge of 5 millibar. A start condition, stop condition, I will also choose pressure here, and falling edge at 10 millibar, that's okay. So these are the trigger settings I know that work best for my ventilator B. So you see now it took me quite a bit of time to change everything. There is also a risk that I miss one of the steps, and this could then lead to wrong measurement of my ventilator B here. So instead of doing this, settings change all the time when I'm switching from testing ventilator B to ventilator A and back. I will now also save a profile for this ventilator B. Exactly the same as I did before. I'll go to my profile screen, select new profile, name it vent B. Oops. vent B. Okay. So now I have the two profiles here on my CITREX, and from now on it's very quick for me to just set up my devices. If I want to test vent A, I choose the profile vent A, apply it, done. Everything is set up. You can see now it changed back to my settings I had before. Or if I have to test vent B, I just go there to my profile section, choose vent B, apply, and I'm ready to start. You see, it's really lightning fast. It eliminates any risk of wrong settings, and it really makes sense to use these profiles whenever you have reoccurring measurement tasks. By the way, here you can also, when you change something, you can also update a profile with the update button. You can edit the name or the description. You can also delete the profile. And if you have a USB stick connected to your CITREX H5, you can export the profile to this USB stick. Okay, so let's go back to my presentation here. So you have it also on the slide here. We will show you, we will share this presentation with you after the webinar. So you have seen it's very easy to create profiles on the CITREX H5. We can do it right on the device. And also we have discussed how to load them. We just go to the profile section, select the profile we want to use, and then just load it and apply it to the device. So let's have a look how I can do this on CITREX H4, because this is completely different. I have a CITREX H4 here with me too. And with H4, it is not possible to create the profiles on the device itself. Here it works different. We have to create the profile on the SD card of your CITREX H4. So to do that, either we can connect this micro SD card to our computer, what I will do here to demonstrate it, or we can also connect the CITREX via USB cable to our computer. Then it will ask us on CITREX if we want to use it as mass storage device. If we then select yes, we will then see on our computer, if we start the file browser, we will then also see the files which are on our built-in SD memory card. So let's see how it works. I will demonstrate it to you here on the computer. So I'm now connecting my CITREX H4 micro SD card to my computer here. Then I have to open a file browser window. Let's see where my mouse is. Yeah, here it is. So if I now navigate to my SD card, you can see it now on the screen here. There is a folder called Profiles. And in here, all the CITREX H4 profiles are stored. And also on all CITREX H4 SD cards, you will find a file called Profile Editor. And this is the tool to create CITREX H4 profiles. If I want to open it, I will select to open it with Microsoft Internet Explorer, because we use Microsoft Silverlight, and Silverlight is not running with any other browser. So we have to use Internet Explorer here. If you don't have Silverlight plugin installed, then it will maybe ask you to install it. It just takes 1 minute, very easy. Once you have installed it, you see this profile editor now, and we can now create and save profiles here for our CITREX H4. So on the summary page, you can see here, we can add description, save and load profiles. And in the section configuration up here, we can actually do the configuration for the profile we want to save. For example, values here, you know the CITREX H4 screens. We can change the different numeric measurement screens here, which we can access with the square button here, so I can configure what I want to see on the different screens here when I'm switching through them. For instance, here I can change the first page. I don't want to see the flow. For example, I want to see the pressure channel, and I can also change the unit here. The same I can do with all my screens here for graphics. If I, with the triangle button, if I switch through the screens here, I can configure them here the same way. Then trigger settings, I can also change here, interface settings, and miscellaneous here, for example, I can change gas type, gas standard, I want to save as profile. At the end, once I'm done, I can go to the file section, summary, add a description. For example, here I will just add vent A. Then I can save the profile with this button, navigate to my SD card and select the folder profiles. Give it a name. I will choose vent A2 here. Vent A, yeah. Thank you, Teresa. And just save it in this profiles folder by clicking save. So now, when I disconnect my micro SD card from my computer and put it back to my CITREX H4, let's have a look back at my presentation. So this is how to create it. Then I can load the profile here in my main menu with the X button. I can navigate through my main menu, and the last point in the main menu is called profiles. By using the circle button up here, I can then switch through the different profiles, which are on my SD card. And now I should also find here, you see, my vent A profile, which I have just created with the tool. And with the triangle button, I can select it up here. And it asks me if I really want to load it. I have to confirm again with the triangle button like this. And now this profile has been loaded on my CITREX H4. So you see, it works a bit different. The concept is exactly the same. You need the tool here, which is saved on each and every SD card of your CITREX H4 device.